There's a type of power that does not announce itself, does not explain itself, and does not require visible effort. It operates through rhythm and timing. When you stop pushing and start holding, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. Most men believe desire is born from constant action, continuous presence, and increasing intensity. That is why they talk too much, stay too long, and insist too much. And that is exactly why desire dies before it fully forms. Desire does not respond to excess. It responds to control. Robert Greene explains that true power is not in doing more, but in mastering the emotional rhythm of interaction. Whoever controls rhythm controls anticipation, and anticipation controls desire. When the rhythm is right, the other person enters a state of active waiting. Not anxiety, but expectation. Not neediness, but focus. The mind begins filling the spaces you intentionally leave open. This technique does not involve compliments, insistence, or direct seduction. It works precisely because you do not try to provoke desire explicitly. You create a controlled void, a strategic silence that keeps the experience unfinished. Everything unfinished returns to the mind with greater force. The human brain hates unresolved endings. It revisits, replays, and imagines. That is why this technique makes her think about you when you are not present. Not because you marked territory, but because you left something suspended, something unconcluded. The average man rushes to close everything too quickly, mistaking explanation for connection and permanence for depth. By doing so, he delivers satisfaction before desire has time to mature. He confuses connection with security. And when everything is given too early, the emotional system has nothing left to anticipate. In this video, you will understand what this technique is, why it works in the female brain, and how to apply it without seeming cold, strange, or calculating. It is not about disappearing. It is about knowing the exact moment to leave, not manipulating emotions, but sustaining a rhythm that allows desire to arise on its own, without asking, proving, or insisting. This is where the game changes. Control stops being external and becomes internal. Topic 1. The technique. Emotional interruption at the peak of connection. When the connection reaches its highest point, the average man does exactly what he should not do. He stays, he prolongs it. He tries to extract more from the moment, believing he is building something solid. This impulse is unconscious and born from fear. Fear that if he stops now, the energy will disappear. But the real effect is the opposite. Prolonged peaks turn intensity into routine, and routine kills desire before it has time to mature. The brain does not fixate on what is completed. It fixates on what is interrupted. Closed experiences fade quickly. Interrupted experiences generate return. Desire grows in the space between what was lived and what has not yet happened. That space is where anticipation forms and power quietly takes hold. That is why ending at the peak creates more desire than prolonging the moment. You do not deliver the ending. You leave the emotional system open, and everything left open pulls the mind back again and again. Leaving first does not reduce value. It increases it. Ending an intense exchange at its highest point does not cool things down. It intensifies them. Leaving while energy is alive signals control, not disinterest. The man who knows when to leave communicates something rare. He does not need to drain every drop of the moment to feel secure. He trusts the residual effect, and that is where desire continues working. Science supports this. Research from Harvard University in 2019 showed that interrupted experiences generate stronger emotional rumination than complete ones. The mind instinctively tries to finish what was cut off. When you end at the peak, you do not create frustration. You create anticipation. Anticipation keeps emotional energy moving forward, and forward motion is the fuel of desire. Applying this requires precision. Leave intense interactions first, without long explanations. End dates when connection is alive, not when conversation collapses. Close exchanges while energy is high. This is not about appearing busy or unavailable. It is about respecting rhythm. The man who withdraws at the right moment leaves a psychological mark without forcing anything. This technique is not prolonged absence. It is conscious interruption. You leave something pulsing instead of draining it. You stop depending on constant presence to maintain interest. When desire works in your absence, insistence becomes unnecessary. Her mind continues from where you stopped. That is where the technique begins to show real power. Topic 2. What this interruption does in her brain. When interaction stops at the peak, something specific happens internally. Not frustration, not neediness. Activation. The interruption keeps dopamine circulating because the brain never receives a completion signal. Dopamine is not the chemical of satisfaction. It is the chemical of desire. It does not calm the system. It projects it forward. That is why the memory remains open, vibrating, and asking for continuation instead of closure. Neuroscience explains this clearly. Dopamine rises with anticipation and drops with resolution. Ending at the peak preserves anticipation and prevents emotional shutdown. The brain tries to mentally finish what was cut off but cannot. Each attempt brings it back to the image, the tone, and the atmosphere of the moment. She does not think about you because you insisted. She thinks about you because you left before closure. That absence becomes the trigger. Here's the break most people miss. The more she tries to conclude the moment internally, the more she thinks about you. Not because you planned it, but because you respected the biological rhythm of desire. A Stanford University study in 2017 showed that prolonged anticipation intensifies desire by keeping dopamine circuits active longer. Desire grows in the interval, not in constant contact. Applying this requires conscious contrast. Be fully present when you are there, and truly gone when you leave. Do not explain absences or close emotional loops prematurely. The man who explains everything reduces tension. The man who trusts the interval allows the brain to do the work on its own. He does not abandon, he creates space. That space is not empty, it is fertile. Imagination activates. The body recalls sensation, and the mind begins projecting toward reunion without external prompting. When you return, nothing needs to be reignited. The flame stayed lit because desire was not smothered by excess presence. The rhythm was preserved. Topic 3. Why this works better on women than on men. Desire does not organize itself the same way across sexes, and emotional processing follows different patterns. Many men respond to direct stimulus and quick resolution. Women more often experience desire as emotional continuity built across moments, meanings, and sensations. When this continuity is interrupted at the right point, it does not break. It stretches. And what stretches without breaking creates psychological tension. Unresolved emotion creates attachment. Clear closure allows the brain to file the experience away. Suspension forces it to return, revisit, and replay. In female desire, this return is sensory before it is rational. The body remembers first. Each memory reinforces the connection without you being present. This dismantles a common mistake. Seeking emotional closure too early kills desire. Long talks to define feelings prematurely deliver conclusion where tension should remain. Where there is conclusion, desire loses space. When clarity is delayed, something shifts. She begins seeking meaning on her own. A University of Toronto study in 2018 found that women show stronger emotional rumination in ambiguous bonds, where closure is not forced early. Ambiguity here is not confusion or disrespect. It is the absence of premature emotional endings that keeps the emotional system engaged. The brain stays active trying to make sense of the bond, and the longer it stays active, the deeper desire grows. Not from pressure, but from internal processing. Applying this requires mature emotional restraint. Do not seek definitions while energy is still forming. Allow silence to exist without rushing to explain it away. When you leave at the peak, and do not close what was left open, you give space for imagination, projection, and anticipation to take over. What is built internally has far more force than what is delivered ready-made. Desire strengthens through effort made by the mind, not effort forced by presence. This technique works because it respects how desire develops in women, not through raw stimulation, but through emotional continuity interrupted at the right moment. When you understand this, you stop competing with external stimuli and begin occupying her mind even when you are not there. Not because you did something dramatic, but because you knew when to stop before delivering the ending. Conclusion. Desire does not come from what you give. It comes from what you sustain. Few men are able to make this inversion. Desire is not born from constant giving, excessive presence, or trying to please. It is born from containment and restraint. Ancient philosophy described power as the ability to contain rather than spill. That same principle applies here. The man who stops at the right moment shows mastery over himself. And self-mastery is one of the most silent forms of magnetism. This works because you do not provoke desire directly. You do not push emotion or accelerate rhythm to feel secure. You create a controlled void that the brain tries to fill on its own. And what the brain tries to complete gains importance. While others fight to mark presence, you become presence even in absence. You leave the story open, and the mind keeps returning. Connection is not built by stretching moments until they die, but by interrupting them while they are still alive. This understanding changes the entire dynamic. She does not feel abandoned. She feels that something remained alive, unresolved, and waiting. This is not manipulation. Manipulation seeks external control. What exists here is internal control. knowing when to advance and when to contain, knowing when to be fully present and when to withdraw calmly, without drama, without explanation, without fear. The man who masters this does not rely on tricks, lines, or performance. He sustains a state that desire recognizes instinctively. That is the foundation of real magnetism. Not what you say, not what you promise, but the rhythm you maintain. This is what structured systems of seduction are built on. A deep understanding of female psychology, desire creation, and emotional control. Not shortcuts, not gimmicks, but a lasting internal state that transforms every interaction. Most men search for techniques. Few build discipline. And discipline is what allows rhythm to be sustained without effort. When you stop chasing outcomes, outcomes begin chasing you. Because desire responds to containment, not pursuit. You no longer compete for attention. You become the reference point the mind returns to when stimulation fades. This is why men who know when to leave become unforgettable. They do not exhaust moments, they preserve them. They do not force endings. They allow the story to remain open, alive, and unresolved. From here, the choice is simple. Continue giving everything and killing desire, or learn to sustain the rhythm that allows desire to arise on its own. The power was never in doing more. It was always in knowing when to stop. There is a structured way to learn this state, not through random tips, but through a complete framework that explains female psychology, desire creation, and internal control step by step. This is not for men looking for shortcuts or surface tricks. It is for those willing to build a lasting internal discipline that changes how every interaction unfolds. When internal control is developed, attraction stops being something you chase. It becomes something that forms naturally around you. The system teaches how to sustain emotional rhythm, how to exit at the right moment, and how to let desire organize itself without force. These principles are not taught openly because they require restraint, not performance. And restraint is rare. Most content focuses on what to say. This focuses on when to stop speaking. Most teach how to escalate. This teaches how to contain. Access to the full framework is available through the link in the description and the pinned comment. From here, the decision is yours. Continue operating on impulse, or learn to move with precision. Because the men who master rhythm never need to ask for desire. They allow it to arrive.